Hey, what's up everyone? Morey Croson here, and today we're going to be breaking down Christian Coleman's 634 world record, and we're going to start the video right now. This is the newest edition of the Performance Lab. Reach your individual goals. You don't want to just talk about straight line speed. We also want to talk about your ability to be quick. We break down your video. Let's make you into the quarterback I know you can become. All right, so I was looking back and I was really surprised that I don't even have a breakdown on this in the past. A breakdown of Christian Coleman 634, somebody I've done a lot of breakdowns on in the past, but never actually did his 634. I've done other 60s, I've done other 100s. And overall, Christian Coleman is just one of the best sprinters in the world. He's so good in a lot of different areas. He ran 976 in the 100, 1985 in the 200, and then has the world record for the 634. Very impressive, 5'9". We're gonna go ahead and hop right into the breakdown. So we got to start. He's very well known for having an excellent start. We're going to take a look at some of the things that he does very well, and he actually doesn't get a great start on this particular run, but we're going to see foot comes off the ground 0.19 and hits back down at 4.3. That's not a very fast time. It's a good time, but it's not a tremendously fast time. That is about 2.4. We've seen Trevor Monell get 2.0, but what is interesting is we can see how fast he gets this other foot off of the ground or off of the block, where a lot of guys I see are getting close to being able to touch the ground before this foot ends up, or the back foot ends up coming off the ground, or the foot that ends up being in the front when you're starting, but at this particular part is now in the back. So it's very rare to see the foot be off the ground so early out of the block, but we can see that he does a great job with that elbow, gets a ton of height with that elbow. Look at how much higher his elbow is than we see the athlete here. That's a big area of concentration that I think a lot of guys miss out on, because it allows you to really get that momentum of the hips going forwards, and it creates a lot of explosiveness within that lower body and allows our weight to be able to shift a lot more upwards, a lot more forwards, because we have so much of our range going up. And yeah, he's keeping his head tucked, but he's not allowing, or he's not keeping his chest down. He's allowing his chest to come up as he's exploding out, and then comes back down, and then when he comes back down is when he starts to lower back down. And then you can see he has a great time, so 4.3, and he's right back off the ground by 6.0. That's an excellent foot contact time. Very effective at being able to load, keep that weight forward, keep everything into the heel, and get right back off the ground. Again, with that second step, another same idea, where he's just very quick at being able to get up off of the ground and landing a little bit on the inside, more on the inside part of the foot, right? Which ends up being a very beneficial thing when it comes to having a great contact time. Now, as he's getting into his top speed or going through his drive phase, just patience, being able to get to his top speed. He's actually a little bit behind to Ronnie Baker at the beginning here. He doesn't have, like I said, he doesn't have a great start. Ronnie Baker really has an elite start himself, but is able to catch up. And a big part of what makes it so he is such a great sprinter when it comes to his top end speed is, even though he's very rotational, he still lands on the front part of the foot. And so we can see, like this step here, he hasn't necessarily touched the ground yet, but then there he already has, let's say his foot contact time is 0.46, and then we'll see here he's off by 0.55, so he's got that sub 0.1 foot contact time, which is critical when it comes to running the 60, especially at a high level. And what we see here, especially if we compare to some of the other guys that he's going up against, is just a very good ability to be able to get his toes all the way up and then be able to strike, and also very forward with the arm. When I see this guy here in particular, we see very stiff with being able to come up with his hands. I mean, he's still obviously running fast, but he's not really utilizing his arms very well to help him in being able to generate a lot of pull. We can see with Christian Coleman, he does a really good job of getting his hands out in front and then pulling those legs back, and that allows him to, even though he doesn't get a ton of height within his knees, he's able to still get plenty of toe action and plenty of horizontal pull. We don't necessarily need a lot of height within our knees in order to run fast. What we have to be able to get, though, is we have to be able to maximize horizontal pull. So we have to be able to get to this position, get the toes up, and then pull that foot back underneath, so then we can land on the front part of the foot and then be able to transfer off of that foot effectively, right? So when we're here, we're landing at 0.01. He's landing with more of his weight forward, so then by the time it gets to 0.11, he's already off of the ground. It makes it so you're very efficient with your foot contact time. When you land too far back and you're not able to properly absorb, that makes it so now your foot contact time ends up being a lot longer. And if that ends up being the case, then it makes it so not only are you not going to be able to generate as much distance per step, it also makes so so a lot of times you end up being more at risk for injury. The more time you're spending on the ground, that usually means that you have ineffective landing biomechanics, which means that you're going to be more at risk for shin splints, more at risk for any type of really overuse problem within that lower leg. I mean, he still has the ability, in my opinion, you know, in order to really help him improve, it would be to be able to get a little bit more of just a straight horizontal pull instead of like an externally rotated pull, especially on that right side. He really gets a lot of external rotation in that pull. So now he's landing a little bit more on the outside part of the foot, where it'd be better to be able to land a little bit more towards the middle part of the foot. It would really be a small adjustment there, but I think would make a big difference in where his center of gravity would be, or center of balance would be. And so instead of it being on the outside part of the right foot and then having to transfer back over, he could keep it a little bit more on the mid part of the foot and then be able to shift off of that leg a lot more effectively. His left leg, he's really, really good, but his right leg, because he externally rotates so much while he's very tall with that leg, he also ends up spending a lot more time and puts a little bit more, again, pressure within those hips, pressure within those adductors, a lot more at risk for injury on that right leg because of some of the movement patterns that he has going on there. And that could be adjusted through arm swing, it could be adjusted through being able to improve how the foot comes off the ground, not rotating as much within the leg as it's coming off the ground, being able to maximize extension within that right leg. I have to do a little bit more research into what his specific problem would be, so I'd have to do some more assessments, see how well he's able to load into that right leg, see if he's had any ankle issues, see what's going on within the foot, and be able to go on from there. But overall, it would definitely be something that he can improve on in order to help him in being able to run faster. As always, if you like the information, go and click that thumbs up down below, subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, comments, or recommendations, you can leave those down below. Just giving some in-depth information into how you can run faster, what are the key things that you need to be able to do in order to really maximize your top end speed, as well as your start, right? How can you just become a better overall sprinter, and what are some of the key mechanics within those great sprinters? Because that, at the end of the day, is the big difference. There's a big difference between when you have great sprinting mechanics and understand how to get from the start, from the acceleration to the top end speed, and do that effectively, be able to maintain that top end speed effectively. Those are all things that the best in the world are able to do. And those little hundreds of seconds where they're really able to maximize the ground contact, really understand how to be able to quickly transition off the ground, as well as how to properly strike the ground, is the key separator that makes it so they're able to get into those elite level speeds, makes it so then they could get those elite level times. And so while there doesn't end up being a big difference between some of these guys, especially in terms of the time, the result ends up being very different. So we see here where he's closer to, I mean, he's passing at 6'1", but he runs 6:34. You know, these other guys are probably all sub-7, which is still a very, very fast time. But what makes Christian Coleman unique and makes him being able to accomplish what he's able to accomplish is because he does some of the small things correctly and is doing that over the entirety of the race. So we see again, Ronnie Baker starts off and has a better start, but then Christian Coleman's able to catch up. He's not able to catch up because he did one particular thing on one step. It's because he did multiple things. He did a great job staying through the drive phase. He stayed patient. He got to his top end speed. He really stuck to his mechanics, and that allowed him to run the time that he was able to run. Now that ends up being the key differentiator. If you want to be fast, you want to have a great top end speed, you have to be able to absorb higher levels of force. You have to be able to really understand sprinting in your body at a level that is very unique, again, in order to really be at the top. Those elite athletes have a great kinesthetic feel for their bodies, where it is in space, and how to be able to land, how to be able to balance, how to be able to control, and that's why they're able to achieve what they're able to achieve. So yeah, check out the description down below if you want to learn a little bit more about some of the programs that we offer, some of the things that we can do to help you in improving your speed. And as always, thanks for watching the videos. We'll talk to you soon.